Tension remains sky high in the F1 paddock as we rocked up to Japan for the next round of the season. And it's all to do with Mason Woods, Sam, and now Zak Brown. Now, of course, a couple of weekends ago, Mason Woods came out and said that Sam desperately wanted to join BMW for the start of this season as he wanted to be a part of a proper family and was desperate to get out of McLaren. Sam hit back very hard against Mason Wood last week, stating that Mason Wood isn't really good at anything, and that especially comes to data transfers as well, which is why Mason Wood was banned from motorsports in the first place, as he was involved in a data transaction scandal with himself and his US compatriot Noah James. But of course, we ended up finding out that Mason Wood wasn't the one fully to blame for the situation, hence why he's been allowed to race again in motorsports. After that, Mason Wood managed to get himself involved with the BMW program and be a lead man in that system. And he tried to get Sam to come along with him, but putting out a story to try and twist the situation. Sam hit back hard against that, and now Zak Brown has done the exact same thing here. He has backed Sam's comments towards Mason Woods, which a lot of people in the paddock felt were very unnecessary last week, as Sam really hit hard at Mason Wood. Zak has stated that McLaren and Sam are a family, which Mason does not have at BMW. So, the tensions still brew between BMW Mason Woods and Sam and McLaren. And finally, Aston Martin have asked the press to let Petronas handle their court case with Red Bull, as they're not involved with it. There's been a lot of questions over the past 2 weekends now, heading towards Aston Martin, trying to get a little bit more information about the court case that's going to be happening between Red Bull and Petronas with regards to their title sponsorship contract. Now, Aston Martin have repeatedly said that they are not looking to comment on the matter, but now they've gone ahead and put out a statement stating that everything that is going on is, first of all, an internal legal battle, and secondly, this has got nothing to do with Aston Martin team. Obviously, Petronas, they're doing their own thing separately, and they are the ones conducting this case. Leave Aston Martin alone. It's got nothing to do with us. Taking a look at the race news heading into this weekend, Ferrari topped the timesheets in practice for the first time this season, but tyre temperatures were causing big issues for all the teams, meaning they had to make a lot of setup adjustments to try and limit this, the first sector in particular being the one that's catching the drivers out with those tyre temperatures. Now, Audi are slowly starting to understand their car. It's been a difficult start to the season for Audi with all of the issues they had during the winter, and like Porsche, they also had problems. And also, like Porsche at the last race in Melbourne, they brought some upgrades to their car to try and rectify their previous issues. While Porsche seems to be on a direction to get back to the top quicker than Audi feel like this racetrack in particular, being an actual normal circuit compared to Melbourne being a street track, will allow them to really start to progress more with the development of this car. Now, Red Bull were rapid in the long runs, which is a big worry for Ferrari. While Ferrari had the qualifying pace locked down, Red Bull had the long run pace certainly in their favour, meaning that if Ferrari are able to start in front of the Red Bull, it's going to look like a very interesting race. But obviously, we can't include the other 3 teams that have been fighting at the front of McLaren, Mercedes and Aston Martin. And finally, speaking of McLaren, they are expecting a tough weekend going into this Japanese Grand Prix. They just couldn't quite get the balance of the cars sorted for the front and the rears, as they were trying to do setup compromises which would help with the front end to try and limit the sort of damage of the tyre temperature issues in the first sector, but then they'd be losing out in other areas of the track, so they're not really looking like it's going to be a fun one for them. But we'll have to just wait and see. It's time for the Japanese Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well. And as you can see, we're here for qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix, which hopefully, if you haven't seen the last episode, will go better than the one in Australia. But first things first, we're cracking on here with our first lap here. We go through the first Degner, which was alright, but then as we go into the entry to the second Degner, we just clipped the grass, and that made us lose a little bit of grip, which meant that we couldn't make the second Degner. But it didn't mean that we crashed, so we could go again, and on our second flying lap here, we go across the line for quite frankly a pathetic banker lap, if we're being truthfully honest with ourselves. So we need to go again and set a perfect lap. So here we go then. for our run here at Suzuka. As we go now down in towards the first corner here, literally lifting at the 50-meter board and then letting the car just float on through there. And we're pretty much matching our time as we go through. But this part of the S section now is where right here we gain a whole heap of time now, as we made a mistake on our banker lap here. Now pretty much 0.6 of a second up on our previous best lap time, making it nearly 0.7 now as we're going towards the first Degner here. We're purple now in the first sector. We fly it through the first Degner. We just clip the grass ever so slightly again on that run, but not enough to deteriorate us. We lose about 1/10 of a second through there as we now brake hard down in towards the hairpin here. And as you can see on exit now, just trying to make sure that we limit the wheel spin, not let the back end slide there. And we're 0.8 up now on our previous best lap time. So far, we're in for an absolute cracker of a flying lap here now as we fly towards Spoon Curve here, but we clip the first curb. Now going into the second one here, we just brake too late there. Going in towards, and the back end slides on the exit there. It's a horrible run through Spoon Curve, and all of that time that we gained has been lost. We've lost at least 3-4 tenths, maybe even half a second going through there now. For what was purple in the first sector, we're not even faster than P16 going into the middle sector. So now in the final chicane here now, we've got to give it everything we have here. But unfortunately, despite the time that we've gained, we've lost so much more. It's race day here for the Japanese Grand Prix, and we've got some work to do, unfortunately, like we did in Australia. The qualifying session really hampered us, and we're going to be starting quite far down the order, so we need to try and make up some gains. We're going to go on to the alternate strategy, just like we did last time around, on the mediums and then going to the softs. So here we go then, getting ready for the Grand Prix. P15 it is, and it slides out, and away we go, and it's a good start from us. It's a bad start there from one of the Audi drivers, but we managed to get round him, with the back end sliding ever so slightly there, as we had to really avoid him quite quickly as we go in towards the first corner. We got a little bit wide there in towards the first corner, but we move ourselves up into P12. A little bit of a bump there with one of the Renault drivers, but we back out, going into the S section now, and this is where again we need to start looking after the car, managing it as we go through into this first phase, not only on the harder compounded tyre compared to the majority of the field, but on the fuel and the full fuel tank load. That is a tongue twister to say and a half as we go in towards the first deck. They're already dropping back a little bit now from the drivers in front as we get settled in, but this hairpin now is where the AIs tend to brake quite early and domino affect each other, and that's exactly what they've done here. So we're going to just carefully get ourselves around the outside, coax the throttle, and then go around the outside there of Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault. Lovely overtake there from ourselves, going up at 11th now in this Grand Prix. Next up ahead is Teo Porcher in the Aston Martin as we go through towards Spoon Curve. This is where, of course, we got it all wrong in qualifying, and on this occasion, not quite perfect through there. And you can see again, the AI is pulling clear now as we blast our way down the straight now towards 130R as we go, and you can see here that we're pretty much comfortable now in this initial phase of the Grand Prix, flowing it through into 130R. We're not close enough to go for a run into the chicane, but we'll definitely get closer to the back of the drivers here as they all bunch up going into that corner. I'm trying to set myself up while I was trying to for a run at Porcher on the start-finish rate, but the back end steps out. Bottas leads the Grand Prix, and now, as you can see here, we've completed the first lap, 4 positions gained off the line. Not a too bad of a start, but it's not been one of our absolute bests. But regardless, places have been gained. That's all we can ask for. Taking a look at the start here, you can see that Lando Norris actually started the race on pole position, so Bottas overtook him on lap 1. I didn't actually catch where he overtook him. I believe it was on the run up to 130R, but you can see here we go a little bit wide, and then we obviously attack the Renault up ahead. This is on board with Oscar Piastri now, and you can see here that Sam starts the race in 3rd, but he doesn't get a great launch. Bottas really didn't get a great launch himself either in the secondary phase of the start. Piastri tried to have a look at the inside line, but it wasn't quite there for him on that occasion. Moving to lap 2 of the Grand Prix now here, you can see that we're just settling ourselves in, and we're in the slipstream now of Teo Porcher in the Aston Martin as we breeze our way through 130R. We're getting closer toward Teo Porcher. We're going to lunge it down into the chicane on Teo Porcher. He stays in there in the fight, but the outside line gets us a better drive off the exit of the chicane. Job done on the Aston driver, and we're moving ourselves up into the points now for the first time in this Grand Prix, and our attack continues on its way now. You can see here that we're in P10, lap 3 of the Grand Prix. There's an attack going on further in front. That's Reese and Hamilton going for a run, but we're alongside, or not alongside, but we're closing up to Sergio Perez. We're going to dive down the inside into the chicane on Sergio Perez and make the move stick on the Red Bull driver. But again now, we're just getting a little bit flustered here. So too does George Russell actually. He got caught out slightly by the Hamilton-Reese incident up ahead. Hamilton is attacking Reese now in the on the DRS straight here. We're also attacking George Russell on the DRS straight, and we get past past Russell into turn 1, but we go a little bit wide, so that invites Russell to come back at us, but we eventually are able to hold it going into the S section there, but Russell trying to fight that one for as long as he can, but unfortunately his battle is eventually over with ourselves here, and we're on to the back now of my teammate Lewis Hamilton, who's chasing the Porsche of Reese up ahead. So as you can see now on the DRS straight here, we're both gaining on Reese, getting closer and closer. Hamilton tries to make a move to the inside, but he's not close enough there yet though to have a go at Reese, and he's not going to be close enough at all to have a go at Reese because he's locked up going into the first corner, and that has let me free to go and attack my cousin. Not in that type of way. But I would do anyway. As you can see though, we're continuing on our attack, and now onto the start, to the back straight here. We're onto the back of Reese now, and you can see here that we're pressing very closely now, getting into the situation here. Lewis Hamilton under pressure from George Russell in the McLaren. For us though, we're continuing our attack up front here, as Reese now doesn't spot the inside line into the chicane that we so love to take, and down the inside on Reese, we get the job done. But we flustered him quite heavily there on that chicane, that all of a sudden now, Lewis Hamilton here is right on the back of Reese here. So actually, Hamilton going from defending is now going to attacking. Russell going from attacking is having to defend here because he's all of a sudden getting pressed now by Perez here, but Hamilton passes Reese going in towards turn 1. So actually, we've done Hamilton a favour, so you're welcome, Lewis. But as you can see now, we're on board here with the front runners here. This is Oscar Piastri and Sam having a scrap now, going in towards this last chicane here, and it's all of a sudden kicking off at the front of the field here. Bottas though pulling away out front. Lando Norris comfortable in second. Oscar Piastri holds off Sam there in third place in this race, but Sam's going to have DRS here. So too does Oscar Piastri though in the fight of all this. Verstappen's trying to get a run in on all of this here, but Sam is not able to get that attack done on Oscar Piastri. Crucially, Oscar with the DRS managed to fend off. This is George Russell now who's pressurising Lewis Hamilton, so Russell has passed the Porsche of Reese somewhere in the laps prior, and Reese is trying to hold off Sergio Perez here, but Hamilton now is trying to hold off George Russell going down in towards 130R. Doesn't work for Lewis Hamilton, but under braking now, Lewis can try and just get on the brakes a little later, but Russell says no to that and says, I'm off, see you later, and job done for George Russell. But who's got DRS on this pit straight? That's going to be key now for the attack here. Looks like Hamilton's got it, Russell doesn't, so Hamilton comes back at George Russell, and into turn 1, Lewis retakes the position and says, George, you made a mistake there, my son, and takes the position, and he's on his way. But Hamilton and Russell are not done with their scraps just yet here. Russell going in towards 130R, it's going to attack Lewis Hamilton as he's going to go down the inside. It's going to be the repeat manoeuvre here that Lewis tried on the last lap, but actually for Russell, he's got the job done way before the chicane this time around. But Lewis definitely is going to have an opportunity here to press onwards now in this Grand Prix. But can Hamilton use that DRS and come back at Russell? Perez has also got the DRS here. Hamilton is gaining on Russell. To the inside goes Lewis Hamilton on George Russell. No. Going in towards the first corner? Not quite. Back on board at the front of the field. This is Verstappen that's attacking Sam here. So Sam has dropped off a little bit from Oscar Piastri, and Verstappen now fancies a run here going in towards 130R as they swoop their way around now. Oscar just looking in the background going, please fight more because it's going to stop you from being in the DRS. That was close to contact there between Verstappen and also Sam there. That was really, really tight actually between the pair of them. But on the start finish right now, here comes Sam with the DRS. He's got the slipstream with Verstappen. Verstappen's got the DRS though himself. So this is going to be a straight draw. Oh, that was such a huge moment there for the back of the McLaren of Sam. He so nearly dropped that there on this start finish straight. That was awful for Sam in that situation, but he's just about got away with it in that situation. Great car control there from George Russell. You've got to give him credit for that one at least there. But for us now, we're continuing on our way down in towards the chicane here. We're making a move on Sam. Job done for us in this Grand Prix. Up into 5th place now in this race, and we can continue our push further up the order, not caring about anybody else here. Sergio Perez here is pressurising Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. So Russell now, meanwhile, while we've been catching and watching that fight, there's been a little bit of development going on in this battle here. So Perez now has overtaken Lewis Hamilton. He's also overtaken Reese, and he's also overtaken George Russell. Meanwhile, for Hamilton, he's been overtaken by Perez. He re-overtook George Russell. Reese has also overtook George Russell. Reese is now attacking Lewis Hamilton. You can tell why it's very difficult to keep an eye on all these fights that are going on down in towards turn 1. Sergio Perez is okay. Reese overtakes Lewis Hamilton. Lap 16 of the Grand Prix, and for us, we basically, ever since the overtakes on, I believe, Sam, everybody else came into the pits, and we're just carrying on with the strategy here. We're coming in now for a set of the soft compound tyres. That's going to take us to the end of the Grand Prix, and that's the strategy that we've set ourselves. It's probably not the best strategy that we could do, but at the end of the day, we needed to just try and get ourselves on the best possible tyres for the end of the race and go all-out attack. That's kind of where we need to get ourselves involved to here. Now, as you can see here, just up ahead there's one of the McLarens and the Ferraris going for it. There's another bit of a fight going on between Perez and also Reese, I believe, in the mix of it. And there's an Aston Martin, a Porsche, trying to attack the other Porsche car of Carlos Sainz. That does mean that we've dropped down quite considerably in this race, back down to P12. But we're on a fresh set of the soft compound tyres. Everybody else is on used mediums or hards, depending on their strategy. So we've now got to try and refight our way back up to where we were with the likes of Sam and Verstappen. It's a tall order, but we've got the capabilities in this car to get it done. It's just about whether I have got the drivability to get the car where it deserves to be. So let's get cracking with our attack then. We've got 11 laps now. We're going to be 10 laps on this start-finish rate to get to the moves done. We've got the DRS here on Carlos Sainz, so we're going to get the run down in towards the first corner. Porsche trying to defend the position, but it's a double overtake on the start-finish straight. Beautiful move there, down the inside into the first corner, and that's 2 places gained straight away in our attack of the rest of the field here on these soft compound tyres. So now we're going to press onwards here. It's a purple first sector for us in this Grand Prix, so we'll keep on pressing in this Grand Prix, and we're going to go purple in the middle sector as we now make the attack on Hamilton here, down in towards 130R, making the run now down towards the chicane. You know what's going to happen into the chicane. Come on, you should know it by now. We're going to go down the inside into the chicane, make the move stick. Job done in this race, and now we can press onwards with the DRS wide open and set the fastest lap of the race as well, comfortably beating the previous best lap. So that's pretty much the bonus point guaranteed. Now, as you can see here, we're having a little look at Russell, not only once, but twice in towards turns 1 and 2. The door was left open there, but crucially, we were just too far back to even make that stick. So, yeah, not quite the way that we need to do this, but in towards the first 2 Degners, you can just see the grip that these soft compound tyres are offering for me now. And we're going to dive down the inside of Russell into the hairpin, give a little love kiss to Sergio Perez's bunda, and now we can keep on pressing here with the great traction and acceleration, using a little bit of the battery to get us alongside Sergio Perez. You can see that we're trying to make the move here, down in towards Spoon, and down the inside. Can we make it stick? Yes, we can, on Sergio Perez, and now we can set ourselves up on Reese, who's just had a little bit of a back-end slide there on the exit of Spoon, and now you can see here that we're we're stuck in the slipstream of Reese. I don't know where my commentary is going at the moment. It's appalling, but into 130R. What's not going to be appalling is the move coming up, because it's the same things we've done every single time. Down the inside on Reese. We'll compromise him a lot in that exit, so he's going to have to defend quite heavily versus Sergio Perez, but that's not my concern. Now, we've got quite a bit of a charge to get back to the fight between Sam and Verstappen, but crucially, they are fighting each other. Also, who's fighting each other is Piastri and Norris, just up ahead. You can see here that Norris is trying to defend against Oscar, or he's attacking Piastri in this case, but this is the fight for second place in this race now. Bottas is clear out front, and Piastri goes very deep there into the chicane, giving Norris a right old squeeze there on the exit, but Norris is going to have DRS here, so this is probably not going to go the way that Oscar Piastri wants it to go, but for Lando Norris, he's going to say this is exactly how it should go in this race. Job done, overtake complete. Verstappen also passes Sam in the process of all that further back. This is Reese now, who's trying to defend here against George Russell, but Russell's got the DRS here. Reese has got no DRS at all with anybody in sight. George Russell tries it down the inside. He was ahead of Reese there, going in towards the first corner, but Reese just said, no, I'm coming back at you, and he's done just that, so fair play to him. And now on to lap 22 of the Grand Prix here. You can see we've got fighting all around here. We've got Piastri versus Norris. We've got Verstappen versus Sam. They're all fighting hard now for position here as we go in towards the chicane now. Oh, there's a puff of smoke there on the back of the Aston Martin of Oscar Piastri. He's out of the Grand Prix. Lap 22 of this the Japanese Grand Prix, and Oscar Piastri's dreams of a podium here in Japan have just gone up in smoke, literally, and that is a heartbreaking moment for Aston Martin in this race. But back on board now with Sergio Perez. He's fighting hard here with Reese now for a slot here further up the grid, but Reese defends it quite nicely going in towards the chicane. Now he's got a chance with DRS, but it doesn't equate to anything because Reese has DRS on the driver in front of George Russell. Lap 24 of the Grand Prix, and the charge is complete. We're onto the back here of Max Verstappen, just where we were before our first pit stop. We've got plenty of time to make this move stick here as we go in towards Spoon Curve now. Are we going to go down the inside? You bet we're going down the inside of Max Verstappen into Spoon, and the job is done on him. Next up the road is Sam, and then Lando Norris is just up ahead. But crucially, if you look in the bottom right hand corner of your screens, my fuel levels are starting to get to a point where I'm struggling to control it. I'm lifting and coasting, but the fuel levels are not dropping. You see that we're lifting going into the chicane, but right now we're under pressure here because we've attacked Verstappen and got him. We've got Sam right in front of us that we need to attack. He's the championship leader, remember, and we're going to lose points again if we let him finish in front of us. And Lando Norris is also a chance at a P2 in this Grand Prix, but again, we'll try it here on Sam. Oh, that is bold, that is brave, that is beautiful from ourselves, going around the outside, but Sam fights this one off here, going into the S section. I was lifting going in towards the first corner, but the gap opened up on the outside, back inside a little bit there, and that's a beautiful overtake for ourselves here on Sam as we now go in towards the hairpin. We've got a yellow flag further back though. Somebody is unfortunately DNF'd alongside Oscar Piastri in this Grand Prix. Which driver is it that's unfortunately lost his opportunity at anything in this Grand Prix? It's Carlos Sainz in the Porsche. He's been fighting hard with the Aston Martin and Teo Porcher, but for him, that is race done and dusted. And he's just compromised the Audi there of Nick de Vries, and he's also hurting Charles Leclerc, who's trying to go through as well. And unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, that's his race run and done. Lap 25 to start lap 26 of the Grand Prix, and the attack on Lando Norris is not going anywhere at the moment. We're struggling now massively on fuel here, and all of a sudden Sam now is trying to come back at us then in towards the first corner. We just get the move done here on Sam, or defend the position, should I say. But we've got 2 and a bit laps to go now in this race, and our defending is going to have to be top-notch. Otherwise, we're going to lose out against Sam. George Russell, though, is going to try and make a move here on Reese, going in towards turn 1, and he's made the position stick. Job done for George Russell. That's another place gained for the McLaren driver. Lap 26 of this Grand Prix to start the final lap now of this race here. You can see that we're making a defensive maneuver here. Sam's going to go to the inside line. We're going to have to cover it off, but Sam can't commit to it into the first corner. We just defend the position from Sam as we go in towards the exit of the first corner, and that is a good defensive position done there on the McLaren driver. But now we've got the run here on the back straight. This is an opportunity. Sam's right on the back of us here to try and make a move here on the start-finish straight, but we've got into low fuel mode straight away here that we're running out now, and Sam's going to go on through. We can't go any faster in this Grand Prix. We'll try everything we can. Going in towards 130R, Sam's got the move done. Bottas wins the Japanese Grand Prix, but we can't. We're not close enough to Sam to make a run here, but as you can see, we're trying everything we can, but we've run out of fuel going to the line, and we've just thrown away a podium in this Grand Prix thanks to us not having the right amount of fuel left to get to the end without the engine going into low fuel mode, and that is absolutely gutting. I was saving so much fuel, but I was in such a difficult position fighting them off that I just wasn't able to get it done. Valtteri Bottas has just won the Japanese Grand Prix though, and he dominated the race. Just like he did in Abu Dhabi, he led from start to finish. Nobody could come near him. Lando Norris finishes the race in second for Ferrari. He's had a cracking Grand Prix this weekend. Japan has always been a great track for Lando Norris, and it shows here again. Sam capitalises on our fuel issues to go and finish the race in third, and unfortunately for us, we finish in P4. Like I said, I knew that we were losing fuel throughout the race, but unfortunately, the time to manage fuel came at the wrong time. I was actually really hoping that either the Sainz issue or the Piastri issue would have caused a safety car. A, because I had soft tyres, so I could have gone on the attack, but B, it would have allowed me to save fuel. But it didn't happen. I tried lift and coasting in the hairpin, in the chicane, and in towards turn 1. It wasn't enough. And as well, with me having to fight the 2 Ferraris and the McLaren, it was always going to be a lose-lose situation. But starting 15th and finishing 4th with the fastest lap of the race of a 125.191 certainly isn't an absolute disaster, but it's definitely a compromise of this race. Max Verstappen finishes in 5th for Ferrari, 11.9 seconds off in the end. George Russell comes across the line to finish in 6th for McLaren, with Reese finishing in P7, I believe for the second race in a row now. That's 7th for Reese. But it is more progress for Porsche as they're starting to see some more consistent points coming in. Sergio Perez finishes the race in 8th for Red Bull, with Lewis Hamilton unfortunately all the way down in P9, and Theo Porcher does indeed get the last point in the end thanks to Carlos Sainz's DNF, but whether Carlos Sainz would have got that point anyway, well, Porcher will probably argue either way. Now, looking at the second half of the table now, Nick de Vries finishes the race in P11 ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc in P12. It's a good result for Audi, P11 and P12. It's not points, but it's definitely a good result that sees them going in the right direction. Obviously, Leclerc will be a little bit frustrated that he finished too far back from Nick de Vries. Of course, he was right behind him before Carlos Sainz's DNF cost him a lot of time. Van Dorn finishes the race in 13th ahead of Ilott in P14, with Mason Woods in 15th ahead of Pato Ward. A little bit of a BMW Jaguar sandwich all round for them. Then it is the two Renaults finishing, all the final drivers to finish in this Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo 17th and Gasly 18th, with Carlos Sainz unfortunately DNFing alongside Oscar Piastri in the end there. Now, seeing how that affects the Drivers' Championship, well, things have just closed right up between Valtteri Bottas and Sam in the championship. Sam leads the way still in this championship with 99 points to his name in the McLaren, but Valtteri Bottas is now on 98 points and just 1 point back from Sam in the championship. He would have taken the lead of the Drivers' Championship had I not, had a fuel problem that allowed Sam to gain a place back. But we are third in the championship on 83 points. And while we've had a difficult 2 races in this series, we are only 16 points off the top of the championship. So it's not a bad place for us to be in. Max Verstappen is also within a hunt for the championship in P4. He's on 71 points, 28 points back off the championship lead. Oscar Piastri's DNF has really hurt him in the championship. He stays on 51 points, 48 points back though in the Drivers' Championship. George Russell is 6th now in the championship. He jumps in front of Lewis Hamilton. Russell on 46 points, Hamilton on 43 points, and Norris jumps right up the table as well on 41 points. They are 53, 56, and 58 points back in the championship, respectively, for all of them. Carlos Sainz, no points for him here today, so he stays on the 29 points, 70 points back in the championship, and Sergio Perez closes that gap ever so slightly to Carlos Sainz on 24 points now. Next up for us is going to be the F1 Journey Singapore Grand Prix, which of course has had a tweak to its layout, removing that grandstand section in the final sector and just giving us one full straight, so maybe we might see some differences in that race. Taking a look at the Constructors' Championship now and seeing how that's twisted and turned going into this ending this Japanese Grand Prix. No teams have made any changes in the Constructors' Championship, but things have closed up quite dramatically. McLaren, first things first, are on 147 points, and they've pulled out a little bit of an advantage now in that championship. They're 21 points clear of ourselves in the championship, but Red Bull's recent form has meant that they're now on 122 points and sit just 4 points back from ourselves in the championship. So it's getting very, very close now in the fight for the championship. And Ferrari are on 112 points, so they only sit 14 points back from ourselves in the Constructors' Championship. So it's all quite close at the top between McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. Aston Martin are sitting on 60 points in the championship, and while they initially looked to be in the fight with the top 4 teams and definitely have the pace for it, they are not getting the points that they need to capitalise on that. And Porsche are only 16 points now behind Aston Martin. And of course, that Porsche car is now starting to regularly get points. So Aston Martin might have to be looking over their shoulders at a fight in the championship between themselves and Porsche. Audi still have those crucial 4 points thanks to Nick de Vries, which keeps them in front of the 3 teams still yet to score of Renault, Jaguar and BMW. But that is it for this Japanese Grand Prix. Let's go and have a look at the post-race notebook now and get the reaction of the teams and drivers after this Grand Prix. Rounding things off for the Japanese Grand Prix with the post-race notebook, Valtteri Bottas has hit back with a dominant win here at Suzuka. Valtteri Bottas started the race from second on the grid, but overtook Lando Norris on the first lap to win the Grand Prix. Lando Norris, despite starting on pole, stormed to P2 with an excellent drive throughout the entirety of the weekend, starting on pole and finishing the race in second, as Sam stole P3 right at the end from Tom, who unfortunately had to go into low engine mode thanks to his fuel being too low at the checkered flag. Now, speaking of that, Toto Wolff has said that Mercedes must cut out the mistakes if they are in order to retain their championships. It's been a tough few races for Mercedes with multiple issues regarding their fuel mixture and the engine going into low power mode, to issues in the race, to some qualifying mistakes. It's really just not gone Mercedes' way. And Toto Wolff has said that if we are to win both the championships again like they did last season, they've got to get everything right, as the competitive field is as close as it's ever been. Oscar Piastri is gutted after his engine failure cost him P2 in the Grand Prix. He was fighting hard with Lando Norris for that position, with both of them back and forth overtaking each other for second place in the Grand Prix. When going into the final chicane, Oscar's engine gave way, and it meant that he scored absolutely nothing, and it's really left him downbeat after this race. And somebody that's upbeat and more determined than ever is your race winner, Valtteri Bottas, who says that he is determined to take his first Drivers' Championship in Formula 1, and he has said that he's got nothing that can stop him now. He's got the best car on the grid, and he has said that, and one of the best cars in his career, and now he needs to take advantage of that, and he's already done so by closing that gap to Sam to just 1 point. But that is it, guys, for this F1 Journey race here in Japan. If you guys have enjoyed it, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. Next time around, we're going over to Singapore for our another night race in this series. If you guys have enjoyed it, like I said, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.